Students, in this particular session, we are going to discuss about electric flux and Gauss law and few applications regarding Gauss law. Let us learn what is meant by electric flux in the beginning, and after that I'll explain Gauss law. See, you have a positive charge. This is a positive charge, and from this positive charge, electric flux lines or electric field lines are being directed outward. All these are being extended in multiple, in all possible directions they extend, and they will be outward because it is positive charge. Now, if I am taking a metal sheet, say this is a metal sheet, this is a metal sheet. Now from this metal sheet, as it is metal sheet, there will be positive and negative charges over there. So as a result of that, as we are dealing with the metal sheet, if it is, then all positive, it is positive charge, negative charges get attracted left side, positive charges will be right side. And remember, here we are dealing with positive charge. This metallic sheet is placed in electric field of the unit positive charge. This is a positive charge, let it be capital Q. Now this positive charge is extending electric field outward, and because of that outward field over here is pointed outward. And now if I am taking a point charge over here, say this is test charge plus Q. Now this positive charge capital Q and test charge plus small q, here is capital Q and this is test charge. Now this test charge is away from the positive capital Q charge, and in between you have one metallic sheet, right? Now this plus Q charge, this test charge will experience a force of capital Q if this metal sheet is able to permit electric field through it. Okay, therefore the field of this positive charge to be permitted by this metallic sheet in such a way that test charge will experience a repulsive force of capital Q charge. Okay, suppose if this metal, if this sheet, if it is not metal, if this is a sheet, if it is not allowing electric field to pass over here, test charge will not experience any force, is it not? Now this is what a metallic sheet which is placed in between capital Q and a test charge. So this is allowing some electric field. As a result, this test charge is experiencing some force, right? So that is what defined as electric flux pi. So electric flux is the amount of electric field permitted by a metallic sheet or any particular sheet through its surface area. So electric flux is defined as E bar dot S bar. Electric flux is defined as E bar dot S bar, where E bar is electric field of this plus Q charge, S bar is the surface area of the sheet which you are taking. So if it is a triangular sheet, you will take surface area of the triangular sheet. If it is a rectangle, then surface area of that rectangle. If it is a square, then you will be taking surface area of that square. Suppose if it is a disc, then in such cases you will be taking, here S is where E is equal to electric field and S is equal to surface area. Remember, it is not volume, it is area. Now this electric field lines are permitted by this metallic sheet through its surface area, which is defined as electric flux. So pi is equal to E dot S. E bar and S bar both are vector quantities. Now you can write the same thing like this. Pi is equal to ES into cos theta, right? Where theta is equal to angle between E bar and S bar. Angle between E bar and S bar is theta. Now in this case, here remember that area vector of surface area is always perpendicular to it. Now as this is surface area, right? It is length and this is breadth. It is surface area. Area vector is perpendicular to its surface area. This is E bar and this is S bar. E bar and S bar both are parallel in this example. So therefore theta is equal to 180 degrees. Is it not? Theta is equal to 180 degrees. So therefore here pi can be written as minus of ES. This is electric flux passing through this surface area. Now length into breadth is surface area. You can substitute S is equal to length into breadth. So that you can substitute over here, you will be getting electric flux through that particular surface. Okay. And remember, if surface area is not in the same direction, like if this area vector is not in the same direction of E bar, whatever angle it is making, that angle you need to substitute here. Theta can be 30 degrees, theta can be 40, 50, any angle. The theta value will substitute here so that you will be getting electric flux. Remember, electric flux not only depends on electric field and surface area, it is also depending on orientation of surface area with respect to field. Pi value will be variable depending upon theta. If theta is 0, then cos 0 will be equal to 1, pi will be maximum. If theta is equal to 90 degrees, then in such cases cos 90 will be 0, therefore flux passing through will be equal to 0, right? So therefore electric flux not only depends on magnitude of electric field and surface area, it also depends on orientation of surface area with respect to the field. That is very important thing you should remember. So this is about electric flux. So electric flux is defined as dot product of electric field and area vector of that particular surface area. So physically, if you want to tell like in the language of physics, simply you will be considering it as the amount of electric field permitted by a unit surface area through its surface is said to be as electric flux, which is mathematically represented as E bar dot S bar. Depending on S value, you will be having pi value. Electric field, depending upon this positive charge, you may get variable electric field. Okay. So, for example, if the electric field is not uniform, if the electric field is variable, then in such cases you will be writing pi is equal to integration E dot ds. Okay. This is electric flux through variable surfaces. Surface can be variable, then or electric field can be variable. In such cases, you will be using integration and you will be finding out total electric flux through that particular surface. This is for variable surfaces. For variable surfaces, you will go for integration. Usually if it is not variable surface, if the surface area is constant, then directly you can take the dot product of two vectors. You will be getting electric flux passing through that particular surface area. And it is very important concept. If electric flux is clear, then only we can enter into Gauss law. Students, as I told you in the previous slide, electric flux not only depends upon magnitude of electric field and surface area, it also depends upon orientation of surface area with respect to electric field. Now this, let me consider this as example 1. In this example 1, we have this is 1, and this is 2, and this is 3, right? Now check it up here. In this first case, we have electric field in this direction. This is electric field direction. Now, if you are observing surface area, perpendicular to this surface area will be the area vector, right? This is the plane of area. This is plane of the area. It is horizontal. And ds is vertical. This is vertical. Remember that. And one more thing you need to understand here is, if you are considering total area, actually area, if you consider, it is a scalar, right? Area is a scalar quantity, but infinitely small element of area is a vector quantity. Remember this thing. Infinitely very small element area, it is treated to be as vector quantity. So that is the reason why here I am taking ds, right? ds is a vector quantity, and that is perpendicular to the plane of the surface area. Here surface area is in the horizontal plane, and its a vector is directed perpendicular to that horizontal. So this will be the vertical, right? Now electric field and S bar both are making an angle theta with respect to each other. Then how do you write electric flux in this case? So electric flux, because you are dealing with very small element, it will be d pi. Electric flux is equal to E dot ds. So E dot product is E ds cos theta. Theta is the angle between electric field and area vector, right? So this is first example. Now second example, if you see here, E bar, it is upward, ds bar is also upward. Now both are in the same direction. So therefore, what is angle between area vector and surface area? It is 90. So area vector is vertical. E bar is also vertical. Angle between E bar and S bar, theta is equal to 0 degrees. So I'm sorry, in the previous example which I told you, it has 180 degrees, right? So that is wrong. It is theta 0. I'm sorry. So theta is equal to 0 if both are parallel to each other. Suppose if electric field is in downward direction and area vector is in upward, then in such cases you will be taking it as 180 degrees. Now in this case, ds bar and E bar both are parallel to each other. So theta will be equal to 0 or 360. If theta is equal to 0, cos 0 will be equal to 1. Therefore, flux is maximum. So maximum flux can be passed through this particular surface area if its area vector is parallel to electric field. Remember, area vector is parallel to electric field, not surface area. That is second example. And in the third example, you see surface area is horizontal and area vector is perpendicular to that surface area, right? This is surface area which is in the horizontal plane. Surface area to that is perpendicular and it is vertical. Right. Electric field is along x-axis. This is also in horizontal. Remember, in this case, electric field and surface area both are parallel to each other. But you should not take surface area. You should take surface area vector. So area vector and electric field both are perpendicular to each other. Theta is equal to 90 degrees. So as theta is 90, cos 90 is equal to 0. As cos 90 is 0, total electric flux passing through this will be equal to 0. So remember that if surface area is parallel to electric field, no flux pass through that surface area. If surface area is perpendicular to electric field, in such cases, maximum flux can be passing through that particular surface area. So this is one important thing you should remember. So this is how you can calculate electric flux through different surfaces just by taking the dot product of surface area and as well as electric field. In this slide, now we will be learning the definition of electric flux and I'll introduce Gauss law. Pay attention. So as I told you, electric flux is the amount of electric field going across a surface. Like in this case, this is example of electric flux. So pi will be equal to E dot A, magnitude of E, and A is area vector. Area vector is always perpendicular to the surface area. Now see, this is horizontal. Surface area is horizontal and area vector is n cap. This is vector. So area vector is always perpendicular to horizontal. Like see, in this case, yellow color represents that it is plane of the surface area. This red color vector represents that it is vector direction of that surface area, and remember it is very small elements direction. Next thing, it is defined in terms of direction or normal unit vector perpendicular to the surface. So as I told you, surface vector is always perpendicular to the surface area. So if electric field is constant, then in such cases you will be writing electric flux as pi is equal to E dot A, where A is area vector and this is n cap. N cap is for elemental, very small elemental flux, right? So this n cap represents the direction of area vector. Okay, so generally if these two are considered to be as vectors, this is vector and this is vector, dot product of these two gives you cos theta in between them. So pi will be equal to AE cos theta. Clear? And A is area vector, you need to take that area vector. So this and this examples we have discussed in the last slide itself. So here it is perpendicular, field and area vector are perpendicular, so pi will be 0. Here field and surface vector both are parallel, therefore you will be having maximum flux, right? Now you can consider electric flux pi is equal to integration of E dot dA, where dA is very small elements. So in such cases you will be considering this area vector as variable. So as it is variable, then you can write down electric flux in the form of integration. Now let us come to Gauss law. See, we have a charged body and electric flux, like for example, instead of going to this figure, I'll choose my own figure. Let me take it as capital Q. Right? From this capital Q charge, field will be extended outward. Field is extended outward, right? This is E bar. Now, this is surface area. Let me consider this as, this is spherical surface enclosing charge capital Q. You are considering this as a spherical surface. This is a spherical surface enclosing charge capital Q. Now, and remember, this is spherical surface. It means it is three-dimensional. That means the total capital Q charge is inside this sphere. It is a hollow spherical surface, and this generally we call it as Gaussian surface. Okay. So actually you have only plus Q charge, but what you are doing is, I am considering a three-dimensional enclosure spherical surface which is treated to be as Gaussian surface. From this Gaussian surface, the electric field should be passing through, right? Now, area vector of this is in this direction, right? This is area vector of the Gaussian surface. Both are parallel to each other. So how do you write electric flux? Electric flux can be written as E bar dot dA. dA is very small elemental vector. I am choosing this as elemental vector. Let me choose. This is very small element in that Gaussian surface. And this is dA, right? And dA vector is in which direction? Obviously it should be perpendicular to surface area. So therefore dA bar, and this is E bar. So E dot dA will be equal to pi. That is fair. So this thing is clear. Now the total electric flux, what Gauss law tells is, the total electric flux pi is the closed integration of E dot dA. Like this is electric flux, right? So definition of electric flux is pi, which is equal to E dot dA. Now what Gauss law tells is, the total flux is equal to, the total flux enclosed through this surface area is equal to charge inside. Charge inside the surface. And remember, this is net charge. net charge inside the surface divided by epsilon naught if it is air medium. Suppose if it is any another medium, then you will be getting here epsilon. Epsilon is the permittivity of that particular medium. Epsilon naught if you are considering it as area. Now what is Gauss law telling us? Gauss law states that the total amount of electric flux through this enclosed surface area is equal to charge enclosed in it divided by epsilon naught, or you can consider it as the total flux enclosed within this surface area is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times charge enclosed within it. So directly you can find out electric flux, and that electric flux is equal to charge enclosed divided by epsilon naught. This is what said to be as Gauss law. Okay, now you can use Gauss law for this example. See, check it up. In this example, this is example where I am considering plus Q charge. This plus Q charge is enclosed within this Gaussian surface. Okay, and of course this Gaussian surface is spherical. Its surface area is equal to 4 pi. Radius I am considering it as r. Then it becomes 4 pi r square. It is surface area of this particular Gaussian surface. Now what Gauss law tells? Gauss law tells that electric flux pi through this Gaussian surface is equal to charge enclosed in it. What is charge enclosed? Plus Q divided by, as it is area, area vector is 4 pi r square. We do not have anything, we have nothing to do with this area vector in Gauss law. So pi will be equal to Q divided by, here this is air, empty air. So therefore you will be considering it as epsilon. Therefore pi is equal to Q divided by epsilon naught. This is Gauss statement. Okay, so Gauss law and electric flux, they are linked with each other. Gauss law gives the numerical value of electric flux in terms of charge. Electric flux gives the definition of a definition, or it is the dot product between electric field and area vector. Gauss law is used to find out electric flux in terms of charge enclosed in it. Now let us see one simple example where you will be calculating electric field and electric flux through this positive charge, just like how we have done in the previous slide. I am considering one plus Q charge. From this plus Q charge, field is extended outward, and that is E bar. And you are considering a Gaussian surface, and this Gaussian surface, out of the total surface area, I am taking very small element area, which is denoted in yellow color. This is yellow, right? That is very small elemental area. Fine. Now you can apply both equations over here. Flux pi is equal to E bar dot dA bar. So this can be written as E into, this is integration of course, because you are considering only very small element, and this is E, electric field is constant over through this surface area. So therefore E you can consider it as out, you can bring it out from the integration, and this is dA bar. And what is angle between those two? 0. So therefore cos 0 will be equal to 1, right? And area, you need to integrate it throughout the surface area. So pi will be equal to E. What about this dA? Integration dA is A. Limits are from total surface area is 4 pi r square. So therefore pi will be equal to E into 4 pi r square. This is equation number 1, right? So electric flux is calculated as pi is equal to E into 4 pi r square. This is electric flux. Now what does Gauss law states you? Gauss law states you pi is equal to Q enclosed divided by, as this total it is empty, as it is air, so I am considering it as epsilon naught, which is its permittivity. This is equation number 2. Now equate 1 and 2. What do you get? Pi is equal to E of 4 pi r square is equal to Q enclosed divided by epsilon naught, right? Okay, from here you can find out electric field E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q enclosed divided by R square, right? This is equation for electric field using Gauss law. Electric field due to a point charge. So electric field due to a point charge, it is E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q enclosed divided by R square. Now we got this derivation just by using Gauss law. Okay. So therefore Gauss law, like you can derive electric fields for all materials using Gauss law. And remember, you can even prove electric force equation like Coulomb's law, you can prove it by using Gauss law. Okay, so this is equation for electric field derived from Gauss law. Very important conclusion we have got now. So one important thing, we can use Gauss law to find out electric field for point charges and as well as extended charges. Using Gauss law, we can find out electric field, and that is the simplest way rather than going for integration, differentiation and those all things. If you use Gauss law, you will be getting electric field for even extended materials also with single with 2 or 3 steps. You can use Gaussian surface to find out electric flux using Gauss law. Therefore Gaussian surfaces are to be constructed for different shapes. A Gaussian surface for a point charge. Now see, check it up in this figure. You have a point charge. In order to use Gauss law, you should construct a Gaussian surface which is 3-dimensional, and that is an imaginary surface area which you are choosing. So for this point charge, a spherical Gaussian surface is to be constructed to use Gauss law, right? So you can simply find out electric field through this point charge using Gaussian surface. Next, if you are considering a conducting sphere, see, this is a point charge. As it is been denoted here, it is a point charge, but here it is a sphere. This is a sphere. In order to find out electric field through this sphere even, or in order to apply Gauss law, you should construct a Gaussian surface, and that Gaussian surface should enclose the total sphere. So this is Gaussian surface. And this Gaussian surface is enclosing the total spherical surface area, and this is imaginary. You are considering it, and this is imaginary 3-dimensional surface which encloses the total sphere. Similarly, this is another non-conducting material. It can be conducting or non-conducting. Same thing we will do. Simply we will construct a Gaussian surface enclosing the total sphere, and we will use Gauss law. Similarly, for example, this is line charge, like it is a rod. Okay. For rod, in order to use Gauss law, what you should do, you should imagine a 3-dimensional cylindrical Gaussian surface. So this is 3-dimensional cylindrical Gaussian surface you are imagining. This cylindrical Gaussian surface should enclose the total rod. Okay, so this is imaginary. Remember, it is imaginary. You are constructing this. Similarly, you have a cylinder. So for cylinder shape also, you should construct a Gaussian surface which is in the form of cylindrical Gaussian surface. Okay, so it can be uniform or it can be non-uniform. Simply you will be considering the imaginary Gaussian surface, and that imaginary Gaussian surface is enclosing the total cylinder. From there you can use Gauss law. So likewise, you have a cylinder here, and like not cylinder, I am sorry, this is a sheet. Okay, a metal sheet. So in order to find out electric field due to this metal sheet, you are constructing a Gaussian surface, and that Gaussian surface should be 3-dimensional. This is Gaussian surface. So I'll show you the uses of constructing Gaussian surface when we derive equations for electric field in the next coming slides. So I'll make it very clear in next coming slides. So similarly, here you have a cubical or cuboid. So for this cuboid material, in order to find out electric field, you will construct a Gaussian surface, and this is Gaussian surface. And this is your imagination. That depends upon you how to construct a Gaussian surface, and it is individual. Remember, it depends on the shape which you are considering. So for different shapes, you will have different Gaussian surfaces to be chosen. Okay. So similarly here you have charged conducting plates. So for conducting plates, you will be choosing Gaussian surface like this. So this is one Gaussian surface, this is another Gaussian surface, or even you can take total. These two metal sheets are to be enclosed within this Gaussian surface. Remember, this is Gaussian surface. Okay. And one important thing you should understand from these all examples is, if the charged bodies are extended bodies, in such cases, there need not be total metallic sheet or cuboid within the Gaussian surface, right? In the last three examples we have seen, this Gaussian surface is constructed only for a part of the sheet, not for the total sheet, because it is extended up to infinity. So we will be finding out electric flux through that particular Gaussian surface, and we'll integrate it so that you will be getting net electric field due to that infinite sheet. So this is very important part. In order to apply Gauss law, you should construct a Gaussian surface. So we will be using Gauss law, and we will be finding out electric field due to a metallic sheet. Already we have derived that using integration and differentiation. But without that, within 2 steps, we will be getting electric field using Gauss law. That's the beauty of Gauss law. Now this is a metallic sheet, right? You have in the figure, this is a metallic sheet, right? And this charged sheet, it has plus charge, positive charge. So field will be extended in this direction, E bar, and as well as extended in this direction, E bar. Okay. So as it is positive metallic sheet, positive charge will be extending its field upward and as well as downward. So you should construct a Gaussian surface in such a way it is the part of the metallic sheet. Now this is Gaussian surface. This is Gaussian surface. Okay. Now you are taking some part of the total sheet and you are constructing a cylindrical Gaussian surface. This is Gaussian surface. Now this Gaussian surface has cylindrical surface area, like this surface area, you are denoting it with dA, and see, field is extended in downward direction, and similarly this is the surface area and this is also dA. So if you are calculating electric field downward, you need to take this surface area. If you are considering upward, this is upward, you need to take this surface area. Downward, you will be taking the down surface area. Okay. So as we know, total charge density through this Gaussian, through this particular metallic sheet, sigma is equal to Q by A. This is already known to you. And electric field is uniformly distributed through this metallic sheet. That is also known to you, right? And you should construct a Gaussian surface, and that Gaussian surface is extended in such a way it covers some part of the metallic sheet on both sides. So both sides you have some area. Okay. Next. So in order to consider the total surface area of this Gaussian surface, this is area. This is surface area and this is also surface area. So total surface area of this Gaussian surface is cylindrical surface plus 2 faces. Cylindrical surface plus faces. Faces is this denoted with sky blue color, and curved surface is denoted with this dotted line. You can see that in the figure. Right. Now I am taking a part of this face as dA. Therefore, you can write flux pi is equal to integration E dot ds, where ds is the total surface area of this Gaussian surface. Okay. Now E dot ds is equal to, you know that Q enclosed divided by epsilon naught. This is from Gauss law, right? This is Gauss law what actually states. Okay, Q enclosed divided by epsilon naught. Total Q enclosed is the total charge. Now how do you write Q enclosed? Q enclosed is equal to sigma into surface area of the total. sheet. So Q enclosed, I can replace it with sigma into dA. That is what I am doing it here. Okay, sigma dot dA. Now coming to this ds, ds is the area vector, right? So ds, if it is area vector, see, check it up, this is the Gaussian surface, right? For this curved surface, this is a curved surface. For this curved surface, area vector is in this direction, right? This is area vector. Electric field is in which direction? This is electric field. What is angle between those two? 90 degrees. So what about cos 90? Cos 90 is 0. Therefore, there is no electric flux passing through this curved surface. Electric flux will be only through this upward face and as well as downward face. Through this curved surface, there is no electric flux passing through because electric field is perpendicular to area vector of this surface, right? This is surface area, 90 degrees. So how many faces does this cylindrical surface has? 2 faces. So therefore it is 2 times dA. It is 2 times dA. Therefore E dot 2 dA is equal to sigma dA divided by epsilon naught. This area gets cancelled. What is left over here? E will be equal to sigma divided by 2 epsilon naught. This is any side of the sheet. Electric field E is equal to sigma by 2 epsilon naught. This is what important thing which we have already derived. Using a metallic sheet, we have calculated electric field and we have got the same relation, sigma by 2 epsilon naught, right? So likewise, here using Gauss law, within 2 steps, we have calculated electric field due to this metallic sheet, which is having a positive charge. So E is equal to sigma divided by 2 epsilon naught. Let us calculate electric field due to a rod using Gauss law. Now this is a rod. This is a rod. Okay, as it is positive rod, positive charged, it has lambda is equal to total charge enclosed Q divided by its length capital L. Of course, this is extended up to infinity. So right side it is plus infinity, left side it is minus infinity. So you are taking a rod and that rod is extended up to infinity. In order to find out electric flux and electric field through this particular infinite rod, I am constructing a Gaussian surface. This is Gaussian surface. And this Gaussian surface is being extended in 3-dimensional. Remember that this is curved surface and this is face, right? It is face. And this is also a face. And this is curved surface. Curved face of cylinder. Now look here, electric field is upward, ds bar, area vector is also upward. What is angle over here? Theta will be equal to 0, right? As theta is equal to 0, flux will be passing through cylindrical surface, so that is maximum. Now coming to sides, side faces, electric field is in which direction? Upward. Surface area is in which direction? Right side. What is angle between them? Theta is equal to 90 degrees here. So therefore, through these 2 faces, flux passing will be 0. So remember that through faces, pi is equal to 0 since A bar and E bar are perpendicular to each other. Okay. Now total flux pi net is only through, it is only through curved surface. This is very important, you should understand. So in the previous example, curved surfaces net flux is 0, flux is passing through only faces. But in this example, due to a rod, only through curved surfaces flux we have non-zero value, through faces it is 0. Now what you do in order to find out total flux, you will use basic equation pi is equal to E dot ds and that is equal to Q by epsilon naught. Take this as equation number 1. As we know, E dot ds, we have this total surface area, and this surface area is in 3-dimensional. Of course, this and this will not have any contribution. So it is, this is 0 and this is 0. So through first phase, it is 0. Through second phase, it is 0. Only flux will be having in this curved surface non-zero, right? And that is here. So E dot ds, angle between those is 0. So cos 0 is equal to 1. E you can bring it out. So E into integration ds is equal to E into ds is this curved surface area, right? How do you calculate the curved surface area? Curved surface area, you can calculate it as circumference into length, right? This is total area of the Gaussian's curved surface. So it is 2 pi r is the circumference. Length is the total length of that particular curved surface. So combining those two, you will get E into 2 pi RL, right? And numerically, this should be equal to Q enclosed divided by epsilon naught, right? From here, you can write down electric field E is equal to Q enclosed divided by 2 pi r L into epsilon naught. So simply this can be written as 1 divided by 2 pi epsilon naught into Q enclosed divided by r into L, where r is radius of that curved surface and L is total length of that curved surface. Though this is electric field due to a rod which is extended up to infinity. See, within 2 steps we have got total electric field using Gauss law. But if it is integration and differentiation, you need to take very small element of this rod, and you need to find out electric field because of that very small element, and then you should integrate that overall. Finally, you will be getting electric field. But here it is very simple. Within 2 steps, you can calculate electric field using Gauss law. See, one more example we will see, and this is 3-dimensional. You should find out electric flux through this particular cube. Okay, cube is 3-dimensional. So what you need to do, you will take very small element in all these faces. So totally how many faces this has? 6 faces. 6 faces. First you will calculate electric flux through one surface, one face. Okay, pi is equal to E dot, what is surface area? Surface area you can take it as L square. And what about angle between these two? Electric field is in this direction, right? And first surface, if you are considering like this surface 3, if you are considering, both are perpendicular to each other. Check it up, 90 degrees. Cos 90 will be 0, right? So therefore here pi is equal to 0 through this surface. Pi is equal to 0. Next, bottom one, pi will be equal to 0, right? Now flux will be only passing through this face and this opposite face. But left side, if you calculate flux, you will be getting it as minus pi. Right side, if you calculate flux, you will be getting it as plus pi, right? Minus pi plus pi is equal to 0. Therefore, opposite faces flux cancel over each other. Top, bottom, left and right faces, they do not have any flux because angle is 90 degrees. So total flux passing through this cuboid or cube will be equal to 0, and net electric field will be equal to 0. This is one thing where you can find out electric flux to the cubical surface. And electric field through this cubical surface is also equal to 0 because electric field will be cancelled due to opposite faces. So that is important thing you should understand. So electric field and as well as electric flux is equal to 0 within a cube.